People think the hardest part about fat loss is knowing what to eat. It isn't. It's the building of the habits that are going to help you make the right decisions consistently. Because let's be honest, sustainable fat loss isn't built by making one perfect decision. It's built by repeated behavior. And the only way to do that is by practice. Let me explain. Think about it like this. When you're learning to drive, you've got your theory exam and you've got your practical exam. Now with the theory exam, all you gotta do is study. Just read a book and that's it. You will pass. With the practical exam, you can read a book, but realistically, the only way that you're gonna become a better driver, a more competent driver that's gonna pass the exam and isn't gonna crash and potentially kill anybody on the road is by practicing, making mistakes, understanding the road, getting used to the different signs, the different signals, getting used to other drivers making mistakes and how you're going to correct them so you don't make them. So the only way to become a better driver is by practicing. And all that practice eventually makes the things that you once found difficult, learning to drive, they become automatic. Changing gears, using the mirrors, checking the signals, things like that. Fat loss works the same. Think of knowing what to eat as the theory. You can read about it, you can study it. However, the results that are going to help you last long term are the behaviors that you develop through practice. That's like the theory part of your driving test. You gotta rinse and repeat practicing good behaviors that you can do consistently until they become automatic. And the only way to practice this is by structuring your meals accordingly. Think about it like this. If you are eating more frequently throughout the day, there's more opportunities that you're getting to practice the behavior of stopping eating or not eating until you are completely full. That's practice. You're going to make mistakes. You're going to go over your meal plan. You're going to start snacking. These mistakes all have to happen in order for you to get better at it so that you have sustainable habits which help aid sustainable fat loss. So structuring your meals are very important. They either help you practice or they don't. Let's take intermittent fasting, for example. Intermittent fasting, it does work for a lot of people. However, is it really helping you practice the behavior of not eating until you're completely full or not overeating? What intermittent fasting does is that it helps delay the decision to eat. So if you're fasting for 16 hours, you've got a small window where you can eat all your calories. That's not practicing too much self-control when it comes to eating. There is an element of control when it comes to delaying yourself to eat, but you're just delaying the decision to eat, not stop eating or overeating. Does that make sense? And I'm not saying intermittent fasting doesn't work. It works for plenty of people. I tried it myself. However, if the goal is sustainable fat loss, you need sustainable habits with that. And you have to ask yourself, am I getting enough chances to practice this behavior or this habit? Or am I just practicing delaying the decision to eat? They're two completely different things. What I've found that works really well for me and for the clients that I coach is having slightly smaller meals more frequently. So for example, instead of having one big meal with intermittent fasting or 2 meals or the standard 3 meals, we'll have 4 to 5 meals, a little bit smaller, spread out more consistently at consistent times of the day. Now, I understand this doesn't work for everybody because of shift patterns or your work-life balance or whatever it is. But if the goal is sustainable fat loss, this is something I would really try and practice while you're at your busiest. Because if it works while you're at your busiest, then it's going to be very simple to follow in normal day-to-day life. What it looks like is every time you finish a meal, even if you're not full, you're getting to practice the behavior of putting the fork down or not reaching for something else. What that does is that helps reinforce the habit and the behavior that you're trying to implement into your life so you can make sustainable fat loss a real thing for you. It becomes automatic. It's the same as when you're driving a car. You know, at the start you might, shift it into the wrong gear or you might stall it. You make you make a lot of mistakes. Well, I know I did when I was first learning to drive. It was an absolute nightmare. However, the more I practiced it, the better I became. And then it became automatic. And then over time, it actually becomes difficult to make the mistake. Also, when you spread your meals out, so 4 to 5 smaller meals throughout the day, it helps massively reduce the chances that you're going to snack or you're going to start binging. It definitely does that for me. We'll see what it's like when I go back home to Ireland. There's all this lovely takeaway food around me, but we'll cross that bridge whenever it comes. However, what I've found with a lot of people, especially at the start when they're trying to get their fat loss going and they're using intermittent fasting, when that window opens, they're nearly out of control trying to get as much food in as possible. They're just shoveling food into them like crazy. And what tends to happen is that they either go way over their calories or they make themselves feel a little bit sick and they start under eating. The structure isn't there on a day-to-day basis. If you want to lose fat, there has to be an element of structure on a day-to-day with the amount of calories that you're consuming. That's not a very good habit to practice, that when the window opens, the floodgates open. You've lost control. It's time to eat. It's on kind of mentality. That's not a long-term solution realistically. Because let's be honest, the goal isn't just to lose the fat. You want to lose the fat and you want to keep it off. It's about becoming the person that naturally makes those choices that is going to help keep you lean and stay lean for the rest of your life. And that's what sustainable fat loss actually looks like. You build it through sustainable habits.